Well, that microphone picks up everything. And it is loud today. Let me see if I can turn that down. I'll set it down the floor just for a minute. Maybe it's just on my end. Somehow my volume was 100%. That's a little high. Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2. That's better, I think. You guys if anybody's here, let me know if it's bursting your eardrums. So far, nobody here. I've had a big welcome planned. We'll see if anybody shows up. I've not been around lately. Everybody may have give up on me. Testing. Francisco. That's fun to say. Francisco. This has been a test of the emergency awareness program. If there is an emergency in your area, please call 911. But please don't call them if you just cut your finger. Or if your cat's up the tree. There's something still wrong about my volume. Testing 1 2 1 2. Testing 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. Can you hear now, Carol? Testing. 1 2 1 2 1 2. This is a test. This is a test of your emergency awareness program. If this had been an actual emergency, you'd been instructed on what to do. Sorry about that, Carol. I had the mute on. I was yelling upstairs to Brenda, as someone accused me of last week. Boy, Brenda, you ought to tell Carol what you played with yesterday. Was that yesterday? Thursday. We went to an estate sale. And this is not an adult conversation. Actually, we went to the sale before it was a sale. They wanted Brenda to test a machine. They wanted her to test a machine they had up there. They had a big brother, not big brother, a large brother embroidery machine that they wanted her to test. And it was on a quilting bed, which I had never seen before, and I was impressed. That was one nice piece of machinery. Brenda probably wasn't near as impressed as I was. Hey, Teddy, you want to come up here and see Carol? You want to come up and say hi to Miss Carol? Hey. Hey. You want to come up and say hi to Miss Carol? I know you're not that sound asleep. You just rolled over. Come here. Can you see Carol? Oh, quit being so camera shy all of a sudden. What has got into you? Okay, he's not been. He just acts like he's scared to death. I may just have to take his name off as a co-host. Yeah, he was in and out quick. He's been stubborn. Just before I got online, he was sitting down here crying at my feet, wanting me to pick him up. Now it's like he doesn't want to be exposed. Maybe he'll come back on a little bit later. He's in his chair, though. He's pretty happy. What if I brought the camera to you? Well, if I brought the camera down to you, I'd probably never get it set back up there. So how's Carol this morning? I can ask Brenda how Brenda is, but I kind of know how she is. She fed me breakfast. Well, she fixed it. She didn't feed it to me. I can't eat by myself. Yes, Carol, I believe you're correct. We've had one discussion about that already. He gets free room and board and a warm lap to sit in anytime he wants to snuggle. And he has his own chair right here. He gets treated pretty well, I'll tell you that right now. If he was not going to negotiate for anything, he would probably want to negotiate for extra treats. Oh, they lost power. You got bad weather up there or something else to just go out? Brenda, did you fall asleep on us already? I got her up early this morning to take a shower. I'm still almost late for my show. Well, sort of. I usually like to be ready a little early, just in case something doesn't work. I know I've asked you this before, Carol, but who is swimming? And is that just swim lessons or are they on a team, swim team? Oh, wow. Okay. We've had, we haven't, well, we've had some in our area, but we haven't really had anything too bad right here at the house. We are surrounded by trees. I love the trees, but at the same time, you wonder about them coming down sometimes. Carol, it may be you that makes me yawn. I just started. Tell you what, there's some nasty weather going around. Well, that would be fun. That'd make you extra busy, though. Seems like swim teams practice at early hours in the morning, or maybe they wouldn't. Maybe they'd be in the evenings. I don't think that's true. I think it's just me. Once I get down here and start talking, I start yawning. I think I'm the one that's got the effect on people. Yeah, that's probably true. That's probably what I'm thinking of. I forget she's younger than that. Well, I think. I guess I don't really know. Oh, you got a sort of a stair step going on there. You have any other school, high school, or related athletes on your home team? Our girls never did. They did band. Jen did band for 4 years. Kelly did it for one, but they never played softball or anything. They just never were that interested. Interesting. It's do they have dumb question, but I'm gonna ask it. So does that mean they have a robotics classes at their school? That's pretty cool if they do. When I was 16, 17, I wrestled some for the boys club. It was a place where we went to work out, and back then I wasn't on the football team or anything, but we did that and wrestled some there at the school at the boys club. But I never went any further than that with it. Well, howdy, Don. Good morning. Welcome to Teddy and Tim's Jot 'em Down store. You need it, we got it. Horseshoes, rope pulleys, bacon, side meat, pork chop, best you ever had. Yeah, that's cool. Do they, back to the robot question, do they get some school funding, or is that all funded by the parents? Of course, robots were still kind of far off when I was in high school. We had a model rocket club, sort of, that I got to participate in some. I wasn't actually in the class that was doing it, but I was in pretty tight with that teacher, so he let us go out, and I was on we kind of were the photography staff, a buddy of mine and I. So we got to go out and take pictures when they were out doing rocket stuff. I like rockets. I'd like to do rockets too. I'd like to mess with some of the, stuff that's got real fuel in it, like kind of like from the October Skies movie. Those guys were bacon. Yeah, we got bacon. We got cured bacon, and we got sliced up bacon from Lay's in package, pre-packaged, ready to go. We got your ground up sausage over in the corner, back there in the cooler aisle. You can just check that out as you walk through. It's back there by the soft drinks and the washed wash powders. I can't think. If I'm going to tell this lie, I need to be able to tell it. I was just talking about Jot 'em Down stores. I mean, I talked about that once before, and Brenda reminded me her dad used to talk about Lum and Abner's, wasn't it, Brenda? Lum and Abner's Jot 'em Down store. And my mom used to talk about Jot 'em Down stores all the time. Aha. Well, what about the hardware and software and all that stuff for the robots themselves? That's cool. That's really cool that they're doing that. Other than the Rocket Club, we didn't really have any cool clubs like that in school. We had other silly stuff, But I got to attend a lot of clubs, so I could take pictures back then. I am glad the teachers get paid for participating. That's nice, because they're probably funding part of it out of their own pockets, as I'm sure you do, unless Michigan's way better off than I suspect when it comes to that sort of thing. Well, that kind of makes sense if it's all for the school stuff. I can kind of see why they wouldn't bring it home or get to take it home. If they were making them individually, then that might be different. I think it would have been cool to have been able to do that. I think a model airplane club or something might have been cool when I was growing up. Although RC stuff was still kind of out there, it wasn't common. Probably existed, but electronics hadn't been shrunk down like they are today. Good morning, Mr. Dean, the turkey legster. I've been catching some of your posts on Instagram lately, and I sure am glad you decided not to bug off Instagram because you've got some of your stuff just hilarious. Having to look, let me try to change my head position a little bit, looking through my glasses funny. How's Dean this morning? Are you getting ready for work? Well, I have a question to pose, and it's not. I don't know if anybody in here is going to be a I don't know if a participant's the right word, but the reason I'm a knife bear today is I just happened to be thinking about something, and I'm a knife guy. I've always been a knife guy, and I've always carried a knife, and that was one of my questions: how anybody in the room who carries a pocket knife, male or female. Both of my girls carry one, or they did. I don't know if they carry them all the time now, but they used to. I try to get Brenda to carry one some just for when she needs one. She's always borrowing mine. But when I grew up, I had uncles that gave me, I think my uncles gave me my first pocket knives. And I was probably 7 or 8 years old. And of course, I got all kinds of lectures about not cutting yourself. Don't cut your fingers off, which I never did. Most of the bleeding I did wasn't from my knives, it was from something else I did. I smashed the end of that finger one time. You can see that little dip in the middle of it. It goes down from the fingertip down to the pad there. It's that's from dropping a friend of mine dropping a big rock on my finger. It splattered all over the place. For the longest time, it seemed flatter than the others. It still does a little bit. Hey, John, I figured you did. I was expecting you to say you always had one, or at least you had one that time. So you're talking buck knife. You're talking folder or fixed blade. And good morning to you, sir. When I was growing up, I went to school every day with a pocket knife in my pocket. I went to work every day with a pocket knife in my pocket. I just grew up that way. And after they started getting strict about that, I have to be careful. The girls couldn't, with a leather sheath, John, or something else, or just in your pocket. Because I carried a buck. Well, it was like this one. This one's not it, but it was like this one. I think they called this one a Duke. It had silver instead of brass. And I like the shape of the blade better. I like drop points. And I carried that thing. Yeah, you can't take them to school anymore. And that was the thing about the girls. They both had theirs when they were in high school. And we always had to make sure they didn't take them with them to school. Yeah, that's more common. I've seen lots and lots of those in my lifetime. That was on people's belts. That was so common. The big, what did they call that knife? Well, it's just a buck folder, but they had a name for it. It'll come to my head in a minute. This knife was actually given to me by a coworker. Jeez, maybe 30 years ago. Somebody he knew, cousin, brother, I don't know who it was, had dropped it and had messed the blade up. And I was building knives back then. And so he said, here, see if you can do anything with this, because I had never made a folder. Of course, this is not exactly making a folder, but that's my blade that I've been working on. When I get some tools set up, I'd like to work on it some more. And I don't know if you can see it right here. If it'll focus there or not. Out by the tip, it's Damascus, which is a many layered blade, and it's a little bit rusty. I found it. I had misplaced it, or it's packed away in a box when we moved umpteen years ago, and I found it, so I'm going to finish it. I actually had fitted it up more than I realized. It locks up good, so I just need to dress the blade up, get it down to the right thickness, maybe trim it a little bit on the end, and then put some new pins in it because the pins are broken. And oh, Dean, I'm sorry. I guess it probably depends on where you grew up. I mean, I grew up in the country, so for the most part, and while we eventually kind of lived more what today might be urban, it wasn't that urban back then. I grew up, on farms with grandpaps and uncles and that's hey, good morning, Ashley Brooks. Welcome in. Okay, John. Hope to see you in a bit. Thanks for stopping in. But it was just kind of it was sort of a rite of passage, but it was just, but it sure wasn't thought bad of, and it was just something people did, and people had, and I mean, we didn't pull them out and play with them in class, and we didn't, we were not dumb enough to do something like that even back then. That'd get one taken away from you for sure, but just because. But as long as I very well could have had one. I just don't remember it. Well, that's possible, Dean. But I remember my first one, so I had a story I tell sometimes. I had actually came from my mother-in-law. She gave me a knife one year for Christmas from one of my favorite outdoor stores up in Johnson City, Tennessee. I carried that knife for 18 years in my pocket every day. It had wooden scales or side pieces, the handle. And I actually wore them off. One side was worn down to the metal. I carried it so long. And one of my uncles that I'm pretty sure gave me my first knife. He didn't give me my first one. He gave me my second one. He passed away. So as my little way of saying goodbye to him, I put that knife that I carried so long in his pocket in the casket. And went out and got me another one. But I just thought a man ought to be buried with a good pocket knife. And he may have had one. I don't know, but he had another one. I figured if he gave me my first one, I could give him his last one. And I just felt like the right thing to do for me at the time, and it was important for me to do at the time. I've always said I'd like to be buried with my bow and arrow and my knives, or be cremated or whatever with them, but take them with me, just in case there is a happy hunting ground out there. Can't be too careful about that sort of thing. But to me, knives are just a natural thing. And when I was working downtown for the TVA, that was something I had to become a little bit more aware of. When we worked when we were out in the field all the time, a lot of us carried knives. Some didn't, I guess, but most of us did. And so when we went downtown, if you had to go through the metal detector, you'd have to show that. And after a while, they got to where they were getting kind of strict about that after they hired in some outside security and some other stuff. And but we didn't have to go through the security gate, thank goodness. So I was able to carry my knives in and out. Are you working today, Dean? You have a great day too if we don't see you again. I figured you might be getting up and getting ready for work. You're usually doing that on a Saturday morning. Anytime Michelle's cooking, it's an intense night, Ashley. I don't know how many times you've been there, but maybe a lot. But I tell you what was intense was when Hannah fell and hit her face on that refrigerator. I don't know if you guys actually saw it, but I caught it out of the corner of my eye. And then when I turned to it, of course, she was already down. And then I went back, I rewound it. I ran it back. Anybody else still live in a VHS world? Because apparently I do. So anyway, I ran it back and watched it again, and it was plain as day. She hit that thing hard, and she just missed the door handle or the split in the refrigerator area, whatever it is on that one. She just missed that. If she had hit it, she might have taken some teeth out. Okay, Dean. Well, take care and find a good cup of coffee. She hit it pretty good. She went down. I mean, I saw, and I could see when I went back and watched it, I could see her foot slip. I could tell she slid, and she just went down, wham, right. I mean, it looked to me like it flattened her nose. That's right, Dean. Or an 8-track. I grew up in the days of the 8-track. Well, there she is. Finally, she got on to talk about her sewing machine experience Thursday. Oh, okay. Well, that's understandable. And that sewing machine is going to be for sale this week. Probably after this week, sometime this weekend. It'll be online. Our baby girl was getting the sale ready, or getting it ready to put online for the sale. Our youngest daughter, who was the dog groomer, my coffee cup stuck, has changed jobs, and she is now working with our oldest daughter in the antique / auction business. I hope it works out for both of them. They seem to be very busy. Yeah, you probably are a little bit young for that, Dean. 8-tracks were, they were big and clunky. And cassette tapes pretty much ran 8-tracks out of business. And then, of course, CDs came along. Hi, Chloe. Come here. You want to come up here and say hi? You want to say hi? Oh, I thought we were going to have a special guest, but she won't. She's Mama's girl. Well, I wish I had an 8-track to show you guys, but I don't have any here. I don't think I have any left anywhere in my collection. I'll tell you what was really funny. Sometime in the late 80s, 8-tracks were already a thing of the past. And you didn't see them, rarely did you see them, but we all knew what they were still. But I hadn't seen an 8-track machine, a deck, as we called it, for a car in years, because you just didn't see them anymore. And some of the crew, and I went with a crew up to West Virginia one time, up to Somerville, to repair an airplane. In fact, the airplane belonged to Walmart. And we were out looking for some supplies to shore up the airplane, some lumber and that kind of screws and stuff, not stuff for the airplane, but stuff to help us work on it. And we went into a store, and right there in that store in West Virginia, they had a pristine Jensen 8-track tape deck display with like 6 or 7, 8 tracks there lined up, different qualities you could test and play. We all got a big hoot at it because I mean it looked like it belonged, and like what if you asked the guy about it, he'd probably say what's a cassette? I bet you did, Carol. That's pretty cool though. I don't know how it is today, but I know some of those Ford employees used to get some pretty interesting perks in relationship to cars. I used to know another friend of mine. His uncle was a big time Ford salesman in that Upper East Tennessee. I mean, he'd been doing it for a long time. I guess he was ranked pretty well at it or whatever, ranked. And he used to talk about going to Detroit and picking up cars for people. He said the fastest trip he ever made, he went out and picked up a 56 or 57 Thunderbird and drove it back. You can't go up and get your own cars anymore. Hang on just a minute. Small sibling dispute there. Sorry, folks. Caddy and Chloe were having words. You never know which one starts it. Them two. Bye, Dean. Yeah, 8 tracks were the thing. 8 tracks were. Some of them played. You could get 8. We actually had an 8-track tape recorder in the darkroom or in the house where the darkroom was. So we would record albums and when we were traveling and going on trips, and you could actually buy an 8-track tape back then. It would play for, I think it was 120 minutes, a couple hours, but they weren't really good quality. When you got those really long ones, they weren't good quality, but you could put a lot of music on them. Of course, we also listened to a lot of vinyl back then. When the CDs came out, I swore I was never going to have a CD player. Of course, nowadays a lot of vehicles don't have CD players. They've got, in fact, our newest car doesn't have a CD player in it. We connect to the phone and play off the phone, or it's got connections. I don't know if I can play off a memory stick or not. I might be able to. Times they are a changing. And now vinyl's coming back. Does anybody out there still use vinyl or have a record? My record player hasn't been out. I had a stereo system, cassette deck, didn't have a CD player at that time, and turntable. But I bet my turntable won't even turn. I haven't even had it out of a box in 20 years. Welcome back, John, if you're back. Yes, your Camaro did have an 8-track in it. I think I may have put a cassette in it eventually when that 8-track quit or something. I don't know. But 8 tracks went the way of the dodo bird. I see one in antique stores every once in a while. I bet John remembers 8-track players. Do you have something to play them with, Don? That's the question. And if you do, good for you. Can we ask what's in that collection? Yeah, Brenda, but tell Carol what your grandmother had. If you remember. If you don't, I will. Because she had the Camaro we all wanted. Oh, that's too bad, Carol. I tell you what, Don, I'll keep my eyes open for one. I'll think about you. You may get one in the mail someday. Her grandmother had a beautiful one. It was Carol and whoever else was interested in cars. Yachty, good morning, Miss Yachty. How's happily ever after? Oh, that's good stuff there, Don. We had we had a lot of Eagles from Chicago. I don't know if we had any Rod Stewart. We had Jose Feliciano. We listened to him a lot back then. We listened to a bunch of stuff you may never have heard of, like Rick Wakeman, Emerson, Lake and Palmer. Just a little mix of everything, actually. But when my buddy and I were traveling back and forth to Florida when I was living down there, we'd stick those 8-tracks in his old '63 Ford and cruise on up the highway. I never saw any of those groups actually live in concert. I missed the Eagles. I've regretted that every day of my life since, not getting to see the Eagles when they were in Johnson City. But I did see Rod Stewart fly into the airport once. He got off at our hangar. He and his band. They were either not feeling any pain at the time or just having great fun climbing off the airplane. Of course, there's always people standing around watching. Are you working today, Yachty, or are you off today? Yeah, she is either a 68 or a 69, Brenda. Oh, man, that's good for you, Dawn. They were in Johnson City playing at a place called Freedom Hall Civic Center. Liberty Bell High School, I think was the name. It was a new high school they built up there. And I think when they were doing the might have been the Hotel California tour. Or it might have been the one before that. Oh, well, how long have you not felt well? It should pass pretty quick, a day or two. Oh, that's interesting. I guess I didn't even think about him doing concerts right now. He probably does Vegas. A lot of them still do Vegas. Yeah, Carol, it was a beautiful car. It was a convertible with a white top. It was, I don't know, Brenda, would you call it baby blue or sky blue with the double racing stripes? It was an SS model. I mean, it was the one to have if you could get one. Polyglass wide, raised white leather tires. Might have had a 327 or a 351 or 350 in it before the days of 305s and that kind of stuff. Because you don't feel well. Well, I hope you feel better. Even if you have to cancel that, hopefully you'll feel better by tomorrow. But I will thank you personally for getting your shots. Oh, well, that was a real hot rod, a Z28 and 69. That had the L88 or L84 hood and all that stuff, I think, didn't it? Do you remember? I had a friend I used to hang out with at the parachute airport I spent my youth at, and he had a dark blue one. Or his wife did. I'm not sure if it was his or hers, but they used to drive it down to the airport on pretty days. They didn't get it out a lot. Yeah, Brenda's was a hard top, and it was I guess you'd say maroon, sort of a maroon color. So, Yachty, if you're up to questions and answers, I have a question. Are you haven't been on your cruise yet, right? You're getting ready to? I think you told us you were going on a cruise, Alaska. Yeah, Carol, they lived, I think she still lived up your way back then. They all left Tennessee and went to Detroit or that area for jobs in the 40s or 50s or sometime. And so she moved up there, I guess, because some of her kids were up there. I think Brenda could tell you better. But so I think that happened up when she was in Michigan. Could have been Knoxville. She did eventually move to Knoxville, I think. It sure was a pretty car. Oh my! Well, you're just gonna cruise, cruise, cruise. Which are you allowed to tell us which cruise line that will be on? We won't mention anything about working for anybody. Oh, well, that was fun. I can't remember exactly what a 78 would look like. I know pretty much what it looked like. That would be fiberglass body, which most of them are. Um, yeah, I think I know what that is. Yeah, Carol, me too. I've tried to move to Alaska at least 3 times. Silver Sea. I'm not sure I've even heard of them, but I've never cruised. So, okay, I've got to look it up. So bear with me while I do that. I can't stand not to know what it looked like. I always wanted a 58, 57, or 58 Corvette. I'd love to have a 57 since I was born in 57. Oh, actually, yeah, that's I like that model. I like that one better. Some of the other ones were a little bit in that time period were a little bit more. I don't know. The fender. I didn't like the fenders as much, but I like that one. I'm looking at one right now. It's in a gray and black paint, a gray and silver, I guess, or silver and black. I mean, paint scheme. That's handsome. I don't know what color his is, but I tell you what, I'd like to have if I could wish one up. I'd like to have one of the new ones too. The brand new Corvettes are nice. I think they finally made it to where they always really, really wanted to be. I don't know if that one was considered a Stingray or not, John. I was thinking not. It's got the little round tail lights. If I'm looking at the right, well, this is a 78 I'm looking at. Uh, Big back window. That might be on several years though. I don't think this one's a Stingray. It doesn't have that tail. I'm not sure how many years they made Stingrays. Oh, that was the 25th anniversary one. Ah, that makes sense. I saw a picture here, one that looked like it was done up as an Indianapolis pace car. Ugh, there's one. There's one like I want. That's 58. It's got two headlights. I'd kind of like to have a 57. What did Mike and I are going back to Atlantis? Oh, Nassau. Well, that's cool, John. I probably don't need to post any of this stuff. It's not like it's so busy in here you guys can't see it. Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll have to. I don't know if you're probably not a mod. I would say you can post them in here. If you want to send them to my Insta, I could do that sometime, or just your address so we could, others could go see it. But probably everybody in here has your Insta, so I'll go check that out for sure. There's a group out there called well, there's lots of Corvette clubs, I think, and there may be one like National Club. Hey, Cherie. Good morning, ma'am. How are you doing this morning? Anyway, certain racetracks and certain events, they have what they call the Corvette Corral. And everybody that's driving Corvettes parks in this one area where people can walk through and look at them. And you see everything from the newest models to the very oldest ones in there if you look around long enough. It's kind of cool. I saw a picture this morning on Pearl Manhattan's website or Instagram where her and her son were going through Buzz Lightyear. I don't know if it was something she put together, if it's something that you could get from Disney now instead of just the image they do. But this one had the Martians and Buzz and some other characters kind of interacting on the little picture she sent out. Excuse me. Oh, okay. That's okay, Yachty. These things happen. Yeah, Carol. Do you think is that? Do you think you can buy that snippet with those characters on it from Disney, like just like the pictures you always bought? I just hadn't seen that before, but or maybe you can just get that online with an app or something. I'm not real savvy on that, or I don't even know if it's an app. Maybe that's just emojis or something. You know what, Cherie? I looked at it quickly, but I meant to go back and actually watch the whole thing again, the videos. And did you have? Because I did see it, but I haven't watched much. I haven't watched much Instagram this week. I'll be honest, but I wanted to go back and check that out because I saw you'd been there again. I did not see the part about the beam, so I missed that. Oh, it is part of Photo Pass. Okay. Yeah, I don't think we ever have either. But well, maybe, but I saw it. Or I mean, I think I did. I'll have to go back and check, but I will be checking that out. Well, if you do, you do. I mean, and I don't not going to pry and ask if you knew somebody or if there's any other news, but it's a pretty emotional time for most of us. I have to say, I've been seeing some commercials on for some TV show this week that brought flashbacks to me, and I wasn't up there, but I saw it live when it happened. Just happened to be I happened to be looking at CNN or something. Come here. What you want? He came back. Now he's scratching on my leg. If he scratches on my leg, he's got to expect to be picked up because that's usually what he wants. Yeah, there's nothing. That's one of those things that, like they say, you'll never forget where you were when something happened, and that's one of at least three that I'll never forget. I remember when John Kennedy was assassinated, but what I remember even more strongly was the image of Jack Ruby shooting Lee Harvey Oswald. I was watching the news with my mother when that happened. And you know what? It's funny, but I told my mom, or I knew that was going to happen before it happened. I don't know. I'm not saying I have a sixth sense for that, but I saw him walking up to Lee Harvey Oswald, and I knew he was going to shoot him. I don't know. I had that feeling. Yeah, Superstar Teddy's just not being very friendly right now. He's wanting some attention, but he don't want, he wants it his way. Carol, you'd like this party. When I sit on the couch, I have to go and get out of this chair sometimes because it starts hurting my lower back. But I'll go sit down on the couch for a little bit, and he runs over there because he wants to get in my lap when I do that. Thing is, he gets in my seat and he gets under me, and then I can't sit down because he's in the way, and I can't seem to get him to understand that I need to sit down. Do you? He says I need to get over it. Anyway, so I'll always remember that where I was that day because I was home. We were out of school after the assassination, and then I know where I was standing the instant that the Challenger blew up, the Space Shuttle Challenger. I was working second shift, I believe, or weekends one, and I was standing in the doorway between the kitchen and the living room in our house in Smyrna, Tennessee, when we were still living down that in Nashville area. Oh, you think that's what it is, Carol? You think he's wanting my chair? Oh, this chair, the couch chair. Well, he has a place on the couch. It's got a cat bed heating pad on it. He pretty much hogs that up. Oh wow, John. Oh, did they call you guys in off your mail routes? Just out of curiosity. I was working for TVA. We were a federal agency, and they started calling us all in. If we were out in the field that day, or if we had people out in the field, didn't matter where you were at, we were supposed to stop what we were doing and get home or get back to the home office. And then we were off for 2 or 3 days after that. Hey, Adventures by D. Welcome in, Dave. Okay, I'll look here in just a second, Yanni. Anyway, I was standing in the doorway and watching the shuttle when it go, and I knew it was going to happen. But it was, to me, being a mechanical type, I saw the leak before it happened. I knew something was wrong. And then the towers, I was sitting there watching I saw the second plane fly into the tower. I think it was the second. Was there 2 or 3 that actually hit? I know it was the second tower that this one flew into. Hey, Francisco. Hey, I practiced this earlier when nobody was here. Francisco. That is fun to say. Welcome in, sir. And James Ryan, my friend. Always a pleasure. You just class up the room something amazing. And pass holder pair. How are you folks this morning? Everybody wasn't, but I was just talking about things I remember. Things that are those moments in your life when you'll just never forget. I'm sure James remembers that because he was probably working down there. Make sure I haven't missed something. I missed James coming in. I think I caught it. I think I caught everybody else. I get to talking, I forget, so maybe you need to remind me once in a while. Isn't that fun to say, Carol? Oh, me. Crazy Tracy. So, Mr. Ryan, what part of the U.S. of A are you in today, or are you in the U.S. of A today? If you don't mind saying, and if you do, that's okay. Oh my goodness, Yachty, Mia Moore. James, you walk into the room and you turn it into an adult meet and greet here. Change the whole atmosphere. Philadelphia. I think I saw where you guys were supposed to have rain, maybe stormy weather today, Dawn. James is in a top secret location. He's in a top secret location most of the time lately. I mean, he's getting the best out of his frequent flyer miles. Hey, Dean, you found coffee. Well, good. And you came back. Yeah, we love him, but I'm not going to talk sweet to him like you did, Miss Yachty. Now, Surf Bum, are you just saying that because you can be there in 90 minutes, or are you actually heading over there? Oh, that reminds me of something. I gotta catch up on some little league baseball today. Hopefully, really missed it last year, and this year I'm about to miss it altogether. Okay, Cherie, I hope you have a good rest of your day. Don't let them work you too hard. I hope you're feeling good and not hurting today. James, I must say, when you got bit hard, didn't you, buddy? And I'm not casting aspersions in any fashion. Well, that's good to hear, Cherie. No, you're probably right about that, John. I remember the days when I used to go on. We used to be able to walk on an airline with our tool bags and all of our stuff because we were going to fix something. And I don't know if they let people do that today. I'm not sure. I know after 9/11, then they started doing all the pocket checks, and you couldn't take your pocket knife on board anymore, or your nail clippers, or your nail file, or whatever. I've had to send one or two home because I got there, of course, with my knife in my pocket, as I always do, because I've always got a knife in my pocket, and had to mail them home before I got to TSA. Because if you get to TSA with them, they don't let you take them and do something with them then, which I think is really unfair. They'll at least give you the option of putting them in a self-addressed stamped envelope and sending them home. I bet they've collected some really nice pocket knives over the years, and you can't tell me that they don't go in people's pockets. Oh, James, that is sad. Are you telling me they? Oh, just okay, wait a minute. Let's clarify something, James. You telling me they don't even have a printed newspaper in Philly, or just don't sell them at the airports, which is sad. I can't. I can't imagine. Hey, Simon. We got the fourth brother, or the third brother. There's nothing to eat over there if that's what you're looking for. I don't know, Carol. Have you ever met Simon? Let me introduce Simon. Come here. Come here. Say hi. Say hi. Say I'm Simon. I'm into I stay in trouble most of the time for eating. My nickname is Hoover because I follow up behind all the other cats and hoover up everything they don't eat. And my tummy shows it. He's our middle cat, I guess you could say. This is a cat we sort of inherited from Brenda's mom and dad. He's got a scratching problem. I never seen a cat do this, and now I see him all the time. See if I rub his back or something, he's got to start licking, biting. Poor guy. All right, get down. He's actually not as tall as Teddy, but he weighs more. Don't take this personal, Don, but John, that's a long layover in Texas. I mean, good Lord, you can get Texas all over you in 4 hours. Okay, Yachty, I'll try to be there if you get on. I'll look for you. What time is that tonight? Maybe Carol knows. I hope you get to feeling better. Four hours is a long layover, but I tell you, most of the time, seems like when I used to fly more, and every time I'd hit Dallas, I had to always, it never failed that I have to change terminals to catch my next flight, and it's always pushing it for me to get there. So in some ways, I'd almost rather have a long layover so I could have more time to move around. That's a big place. Of course, So there's a lot of other places, but 8 p.m. tonight. Okay, Eastern time. Well, a year can fly by. Yeah, they do, and I think I have ridden that. Well, I'm sure I have. In fact, where was it? I had to go. I went to another airport. It might have been Dallas Fort Worth again. But I had to go either to a different part of the same terminal or a connected terminal. But I had to go around and make this god awful loop and go underground to get there, and then back up. Where was that? I tell you, one of the neatest airports I ever went in was Denver. I thought that was kind of a cool airport. Of course, it's a long way away from everything, but which is kind of silly. But the airport itself was kind of neat. I had a cousin that lived down there, John, one time, and she picked me up at the one terminal and took me over to the other one. I think we had dinner or something while I was laying over, but that was the only time. Other than that, I had to, catch the train or, you know, my worry down there was always going to the right terminal, and I ended up on the wrong end of the airport and having to run back and try to catch something. Charlotte was kind of a pain. It's not a huge airport, but I never went in there when I didn't have to move fast to get from one to the other. Just trying to think where all I've been. Not many places compared to probably most of you, but Dallas, Houston, Hobby, Denver, LAX, Charlotte a couple times. Of course, Orlando, of course, Nashville, Memphis once or twice. I don't think I ever had to go through Chicago. I don't think. Yeah, John, I'm not sure when this newer airport opened up. I'm thinking in the night. Was it probably in the '90s? Because I've not been out there in a while. I was headed to Wyoming actually that year for a bow hunting trip with my buddy that works out there. I could imagine they were, John. Some of my first flying was done out of an Air Force base. It just happened to be a retired Air Force base in Florida. Those fields were all over the place down there with 10,000-foot runways and such. Yeah, I think it's James. Isn't it like 20 or 25 miles from downtown Denver? I mean, it's a ways out there. It's not close. I wasn't having to go downtown. I had a friend of mine that lived in Wyoming came down and picked me up, and he was living in Laramie then, and it was probably a couple of hour drive, but he offered to come get me. So, where were you at in Wyoming? Were you in Eastern Wyoming? I can't remember which Air Force base you were on out there. I'm not, but I know where some of those silos were. So, I guess you were down in that area. Were you near Cheyenne? I'd like to fly a C-130. Was it loud and noisy? Probably not the most comfortable thing in the world. What a great airplane, though, man. Yeah, Caroline, I totally understand that. I mean, we only had two kids, but it did it definitely changed the price of things when we started flying with both of them. And it was Cheyenne, okay. You know what, Carol? I'm not sure. Well, I've flown a couple. I guess I've flown a couple times since 9/11, but not much. I just haven't been anywhere since then. Not because of that necessarily, just because. No, that's not true. I don't think. I've been to I might have been to L.A. and maybe Orlando since then. And John, I don't know if you and I'm not trying to get you to say something you're not supposed to say, and then again, maybe it doesn't matter anymore. But were you ever actually based in the silos, or did you just go in to work on stuff from time to time, or were you even in them? Oh, I know you were. Yeah, I think you told me you were. We pretty much have too, Carol. Although Brenda would, she wants to travel, and she talks about liking to drive places, but every time seems like every time we talk about going to Florida, she wants to fly now. Once she got the taste of it, she didn't want to. Once she made it to Orlando in less than 4 hours the first time, she kind of didn't like the 10-hour car ride so much anymore. I've had a couple of really great adventures in the cars, traveling in cars before I was married. I'll have to tell about one of those someday. It's actually kind of hair raising. But you didn't stay there, right, John? As in, 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, that kind of thing. Part of the reasons I was asking was I remember a few years ago when they talked about you could buy those things. They were decommissioned and you could buy them and build an underground house, basically, below grade house, whatever you want to call it. But I always wondered how deep they actually went. Oh, I can't think. I was going to look for something. Oh, I'll have to look on my phone. Anyway, where was I? So you ever had to do any shipboard duty then, James? I didn't know if that was an always a JAG thing that y'all had to get a certain amount of sea time or not. Pardon me, folks. Be right back. Sorry there. Had to take care of my nose. Oh, I know that for a fact, John. I've driven by some and didn't know what they were until my buddy showed me. They're not that obvious. So, Carol, tell us about an adventure. What kind of car do you guys travel in? A big vehicle, a top vehicle with everybody sitting on top of each other? Because I've done it both ways. That's not a judgment thing. That's just one can make different kinds of adventures. So your dad was so John. Let me get this right. Your dad was he was Air Force and Navy. Eight's a pretty good crowd. And I thought I bought a van to travel in because we had four of us. We had a conversion van for a while. That was nice. I'll have to admit it was not great gas mileage necessarily, but it was nice to travel in because everybody was pretty comfortable. Well, thank your dad for his service, James, and thank you, Dean or James. I don't know why, but I forget that you were a JAG in the Navy, which I think is pretty impressive. And John working on missiles, I think that's pretty impressive too. I kind of see him and I as being somewhat related career wise. I mean, except I worked on stuff that landed. When his landed, they didn't come back, or if they ever landed, if they ever took off. I'll have to say thank goodness they didn't. Oh, a P3s. That's interesting. Maybe, I guess they primarily used P3s as sub chasers, didn't they? Yeah, as you know, I always thought P3s were kind of a neat airplane. Never worked on one, but a friend of mine was in the Air Force. John was in Mallorca and worked at a radio relay, I think, over there on Mallorca. At least I think that's what he. I know he had something to do with communications and short and microwave relay stuff, and I don't know what all else. That was in mid '70s when he was in. What time is it? 11:30. Come on, silly thing. I I was thinking, John, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I was thinking that yeah, that's a Boeing. I couldn't remember what the civilian number was on a P8. I wasn't sure about that one, so I was looking it up, which made me forget what I was saying. I had a thought, and I was starting to speak upon that thought, and then I lost my train of thought. Hmm. Yeah, that's a 737 variant. I thought that's what it looked like. I'm almost surprised they didn't go newer than that, but I guess that does the job. That's a good airplane too. What I was going to say, I know what I was going to say. I don't know if they still are or not, but they used to use Orions for storm chasers too, hurricane chasers and that sort of thing. But I see 130s doing that mostly now, so maybe P3s have been retired. They probably got some age on them. They've been around for a long time. Guys, I tell you what, I think I'm going to shut it short today. I'm usually hanging around, although I hate to. We've got James, and I might stay on till noon, um, unless everybody leaves. Um, my hips are hurting a little bit today, but I've got some great company in here, John. I don't get this much time with John and James hardly ever anymore, or maybe never. Except James, maybe. I've talked to James a few times. But he may have to catch a flight soon. John, were you in Montana visiting friends, or were you just out there fishing, or? Yeah, you guys. I think you guys may be hotter than us, but we're getting up there now too. Back into the 90s, we had some 80s days when it wasn't quite as bad. Kuna Matata, Don. Does that mean you're out of here? We've my wife said she was just rather stay in right now. She's wanting to do some gardening, but the heat is pretty stifling. Oh, looking at oh, well now I'll assume that wasn't for you. It was for somebody else. That's the University of Montana, right? I used to have some friends that lived in Missoula, but it has been so long since I've seen them. I don't know if they're still there or not. Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense. I was trying to put it together in my mind, but yeah, I may have to a little bit. But well, noon, that's still 2 hours, so that's probably plenty long. And Teddy will probably want to, he'll want to get involved when I get to over there. You got any big plans for the day or the weekend, Don? You got any Disney trips planned? Be safe out there, Carol. Thanks for coming in, and always a pleasure to have you in here. I really appreciate you coming in. I would say Brenda's probably not on here now, but I bet her eyes are closed and she's probably snoring. She told me she was going to go back to bed after I got her up early. I decided I was going to take a shower and wash my hair this morning. I meant to do it yesterday afternoon. That sounds terrible, I know, but I kind of have to have help, not to do everything, but to be around in case I can't get in and out of the tub. I still have a little struggle lifting my leg that high. Stormy days are good sometimes. I kind of like them too, and I always like thunderstorms. Unless I'm caught in one, can't get out, and especially if there's real close lightning. But I've been caught in a few and survived them just fine. But if you're in someplace high and dry, then what's to not like about a good thunderstorm? Unless it's blowing a tornado or the hail beats your roof off. James, are you still here? Or have you had to go catch your flight? Which is a dumb thing to ask, because if you're not here, you won't say, will you? I think we're gonna wait and go maybe in January or February if we get to go then. We're gonna try to. Uh, don't know that for sure yet, but that's kind of what we're thinking. I'd love to go down for the holidays. Uh, you mean right this minute or in general, John? In general, it's mostly better, but my leg, I don't have the feeling back in my legs yet. Um, my right leg has always been and is better than my left leg. My left leg is still pretty stupid. I mean, it doesn't. It's better. It's stronger than it used to be, and it's better. But it's still. It's a strange thing. I can't feel some things. Some slight sensations are painful. I feel pain. I don't feel just a touch. Like my wife laid her hand on my leg when we were driving yesterday, and honestly, I couldn't feel her hand. I mean, I know if she pushes hard enough, I'll know she's there. But so that leg's still not 100%, and I'm concerned that it may not ever be. The right one is mostly good, but I have I have a little bit of clonus in it at times, and that's a shaking. No, I had two things, John. I had a back injury in early '90s at work, moving a piece of equipment. I hurt my lower back. So my bottom two or three discs are just degenerated to hell and back. There's nothing left. And then that last summer, just a little over a year ago, well in July, I fell something happened to me, and I went down hard in the garage, and I've basically not been able to walk since then. What they found was I had about halfway up my spinal cord, I had a spur on one of my vertebrae, and was pressing into my spinal cord and cut the feelings to my legs for the most part, especially my left one. And for 5 months, I couldn't do anything hardly. I mean, I barely pulled myself along. I finally got to where I could use a walker and motivate some, but I was just dragging my left leg. But now I can use it somewhat and walk on it somewhat. If I can lock my knee, I can stand on it a little bit, but I can't stand on it long because it will fold up. I've got a bad knee on top of that, which is now that nothing else, I can't feel anything else. I can feel my knee. I've got arthritis real bad in it, and a torn meniscus, probably from one of my falls I had when my back went out. And I've got something going on with my hips. They checked them for arthritis and cracks and that kind of stuff, and there's nothing going on there, but they hurt like the devil. It could still be part of my lower back giving me pain there. The last time I saw my neuro specialist, he said he wasn't sure how much more feeling I was going to get back. I was really hoping he would say it's going to just keep coming back slowly, and I hope that is the case. It could be. I mean, there is that chance, but that was kind of a downer when he told me that. I was about to hit him. I really didn't want that kind of news, but I guess he's being realistic. Actually, that's what stenosis is, isn't it? I was thinking of something else. But anyway, that's what happened. The bone spur and the spinal cord thing just came out of the blue. I don't know why something like that happens. I don't know if that's just a weird twist of fate. But it was a strange thing when it happened. It felt like somebody stuck a cattle prod in my back and just held it. I mean, it just shot. It was just like being electrocuted from my lower part of my body, just jolted back and kind of back and forth, and then when it was over, I couldn't stand up. Yeah, Don, that's one reason we were waiting. I thought about trying to go back this fall, but I'm not ready. And um and then I thought I got to thinking about the 50th, and since it hits off in October, as much as I would love to go down early for that, we're just gonna have to wait and hope that maybe crowds won't be too bad in January and February. And I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of hoping more things would be open by then, and it would kind of be back to normal. I don't know if that's going to happen right away, but you know how I feel about that. I don't need to go there probably. Uh, I don't know what things are. I keep hearing things and seeing things that are not that don't make me real happy, but I guess we'll see. They're not running that place for me, so. And I hate. I mean, I hate. I love Disney. I love going. Uh, I haven't been in a while, so I'm really anxious to go back. But you know, with my health issues right now, it's not practical. Although it won't be long, I'll be going. I may have to ride a scooter around, but I'll be going. Yeah, I think my only narrowing, if you will, John, is where that bone spur was. That's what I couldn't after I thought about it. I was trying to remember if that was pinching, and I guess in some ways it does. It is pinching. A stenosis is where it's squeezing down on the cord. But I don't know. I wasn't ready for this. I don't have never had an injury or anything in that area that I'm aware of. It just happened at the time the clock was ticking, I guess, and it finally went off and surprised the hell out of me. Pardon my language. Especially when they told me what it was. I mean, I kind of suspected something like that, but I really expected it to be in my lower vertebra where I've always had a problem. So when they told me when they couldn't find anything, I don't know. I didn't know what to think because that's the first place they looked since that's been my history. Finally went to see an orthopedic doctor when I got in. This is right in the middle of COVID, and it was hard to get in to see a doctor. It took a while. And when I finally got to see one, he's like, "What are you doing in here seeing me? You don't need to see me. I need to send you need to see a neuro." After we discussed my issues and he saw some of the symptoms. And I said, "Well, that's kind of what I thought, but we're playing the insurance game here, trying to work my way up to it." And so anyway, before he did that, he sent me back for some more X-rays, and he had my neck. He thought that my problem was higher up. I didn't think that because I just assumed. So he had my neck and some of my upper spine checked, but they still didn't do my whole spine. So when I finally did get and they didn't find anything. So when I finally did get to go to the neuro specialist, he had my entire spine finished up, MRIs, so they could really look at it, and he found it, and it was about halfway up. And he showed it to me. It's just a little white piece of bone jabbing into that cord or that spinal bundle or nerve bundle, whatever. And he said, "There's your problem right there." And he said, I said, "Well, let's fix it." He said, "Well," and he told me, he said surgery wasn't a huge deal. I don't know. I don't know if it even took a couple of hours. So you went in there and removed part of cut the vertebra out and to relieve that pressure. And the scar is only about this long. The scar is not much of anything. It hurt like hell for a while, but no, John, I don't think they did. And I'd honestly have to look and see what I don't know. I don't know that we've ever talked about that. I'll have to look that up too. I'm not sure I know what that is, but I know how to find the answer. Oh, yeah, I have actually, John. Now I see it. That's another version of a CAT scan or a CT, I think. And they did that. They did that a while back. Now they didn't do it this time, but I have had that done. That's when they figured out that my lower discs were crap. They my discs were so crushed they couldn't even get that needle in there, which is about like a hair. They couldn't even get that in there to inject the dye. Well, that might be a little different if they're doing iodine. I know they put dye in my back and then and did all that stuff with a scan, and that was years back. And I don't doubt that it doesn't hurt. I wonder if that's one of those kind of things they do with you wide awake. Well, I knocked something off my desk. I don't know what it was. Oh, I don't think that's what they did, but I've had something similar to that. But not lately. I mean, that may be something that comes along in time here when this. I don't know. I'll be honest with you. If I wouldn't wish my back injuries or any back problems on anybody, and my worst enemies, I probably wouldn't do. More pain, the better, huh? Yeah, well, that's his opinion. He ain't having it done. So I take it you have had one. I get so frustrated with it because I don't know, it's like no answers. This pinched nerve thing was the closest thing I've been able to find to getting anything fixed as far as my back is concerned, and it didn't fix my lower back. I mean, and I don't guess they ever will, which means I'll deal with that the rest of my stinking life. And I'll tell you something, it's not fun living in pain all the time. You probably know that, especially if your dad goes through it. I mean, I've told a lot of people in here, or some people in here, that I was on painkillers for years. Very controlled, very moderate amounts, but I was on morphine and I was on hydrocodone. And, I took them as prescribed and all that kind of stuff. And while my body was, I hate to use the word addicted, but my body, needed it. I came off of it a couple of years ago and I haven't had any since. So I don't know if I'll ever have that again or not. Did they go in and fix your disc, John, or were they able to, or they just let them go back, do stuff that help push them back into place? That may sound stupid, but I have had to do some exercises to kind of shift mine around at one time. I don't think there's enough left down there to shift around much anymore at that bottom. So I think that is on either real damn close or right at bone to bone. Sure how it feels sometimes. Well, that's good. I'm glad you do. That's excellent. I keep hearing rumors that they can put in artificial discs now, but so far nobody's offered to do that for me. Yeah, that would help me too, and I'm working on that. I have lost weight. I've lost at least 15 pounds lately, and I need to lose a lot more. That's the frustrating part for me. Back before my back injury happened, I was in really good shape, or pretty good shape. I've always been kind of a husky guy, but I was not fat. and I was not overweight and not obese. As the new standard for that is, and I was pretty physically healthy. In fact, just 10, 15 years ago, I was still hiking, backpacking in the Smokies. My buddy Phil, my wife, and I, and the kids went a few times, and we used to hike a lot. Probably a couple times a month at least. We were in the Smokies hiking different trails, and I was still going pretty strong back then, but I hadn't been able to do that in several years now. Plus I developed asthma, and that didn't help. That's like trying to hike up and down a mountainside when you're huffing and puffing like a steam train. Anyway, enough of my woes. I don't want to bore or weigh people down with my issues. I'm working through them as best I can. But it has been fun, John. I'm glad you were able to hang around this morning. It's always fun to talk to you, and glad you were able to do that. I think if Dawn is still here, I think we're about it. So I think I am going to get ready. I'm going to shut her down here, and I'm going to hope it might just be me and you now. I'm going to wish you the best and hope you have a good day. If it does cool off and you get to go fishing, I hope they're biting. You too, buddy. You take care, and if you talk to your dad, I hope he's doing well. And otherwise, have a great rest of your weekend. Stay out of the heat. Hopefully, it won't storm up your way. So I'll see you. If anybody else is here, good afternoon and good day tomorrow. And the good Lord's willing and the creek don't rise. We'll be back again next week. Same Tim channel, same Tim station. So it's same Tim time, same. Bye.